Hey everyone, Tim again, timscomputerfix.net. Got another computer here that came into my shop. Once again, it's a gaming desktop computer. This is actually a iBuyPower computer. And this has gotten brought into me because he is stating that the computer is just randomly shutting down for no reason, like someone is just pulling the power. So we're going to have a quick look at this. I have a pretty high suspicion of what this might be because he's also complaining about a buzzing or whining noise coming from inside the computer. And he has determined that it is not the fan, is what he is stating to me. So we're going to investigate this. And I can see here that we are very, very dusty indeed. Oh goodness, yeah, there's dust all in here. So I'm going to have to most certainly, oh gracious, you can see dust all back behind that fan. There's a single rad water cooler, which I'm not a fan of. And there's your iBuyPower proprietary pump and heatsink there. So before I do anything with this computer, I'm going to power it on, go straight into the BIOS, check temperatures, and listen for any noise that may be coming from this computer. So let's do that now. Okay, I've got everything plugged in here. Let's go ahead and hit this power button. I'm going to go ahead and start to hit this delete button. Oh, I am hearing noises here. Hit and delete. Okay, I'm going to go straight into my temperatures here. Let's see. CPU temperature is at 43. 45 is climbing. 46. Yeah, 48. It's steady climbing here. 49. Yeah, I definitely have an issue with the cooling on this. Yeah, we're at 51C. It's still climbing. See, I don't want to get too high here. Again, this is the reason why I'm not a big fan of closed loop water cooled systems and computers. Can't tell what's going on with it. You can't tell if water's flowing. You can't even tell if it has any water. You can't even tell if the pump's working. The only thing that will tell you or give things away is if you start overheating and the system starts shutting down, which by then it may be too late. Your system may have gotten too hot, your chip may have gotten too hot, and you can do permanent damage. Now, we should be sitting with a water cool with this chip probably around 40C, 39C, and we're going to keep climbing here. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. And you can't imagine what that could be like if you start gaming and pushing that processor. You're definitely going to reach some temperatures where you're going to be shutting down. So we're going to identify this board. Just at first look, I can't really see the motherboard. I think it's an Intel. Oh, it is an Intel because the BIOS said it was an Intel. So I kind of figured that. What I'm going to do now is I've already discussed with him about the water cooler. He's not really married to water cooled, even though, you know, that's what's in the system originally. We can keep his fan here, which is a good thing. We'll just eliminate the radiator and we'll eliminate the pump in the cooler. Eliminate that. We'll drop his fan back against the case. That way he can keep his fan and his RGBs going. I am going to recommend to him probably a Dark Rock cooler, possibly a Dark Rock Slim. I'd have to do a little bit more searching here and make sure what the TDP is on that chip, but that's probably what I'm going to recommend to him, and that's probably the best. It'll go good with this case too. It'll go great with all the black. You got two white RAM sticks in here and a black backplate on his GPU there. That Dark Rock would actually look quite nice in this computer, I think. So in this video, I'm going to show how we're going to swap out this water cool system and install a air cool, and we can see how good his temps are after that. All right. First, though, I'm going to go ahead and blow this thing out, get it as clean as I can, because it is quite disgusting. Okay, we've gone for the Be Quiet Dark Rock Slim. This has a up to 180 watt TDP spec on it. And the processor that's in that computer, the i7-9700K, has a TDP of 95 watts, so this certainly meets and beats the thermal expectations we would want from an air cooler. So let's go ahead and get our desktop computer up here and let's see what we can do about removing this water cool system. Okay, here we are again looking at our water cool setup. So first I'm trying to see which way I want to attack this. You know, seeing how the screws that I need to take off here are being blocked. Two of them are kind of blocked by this fan. I think I want to see about maybe going ahead and removing this fan so I can have access to those cables. Obviously I'm going to have to look to see where this fan is plugged in at and where this cooler is plugged in at. Let's turn this around here. It looks like that I've just snipped off this, and this one line to that fan comes down to the power, and the other line goes down to this RGB controller here. So that's going to give us the slack that we need to remove the fan, and then I'll reconnect everything kind of how they had it, so it at least has his fan and his RGB. So let's go ahead and turn this guy around and see what we can do about taking off this fan. 4 screws here on the fan. And that's what we need to get out of our way. Have a nice long screwdriver here. I'm going to start by starting with the most difficult one to get to. We'll just go ahead while we're here and take him all the way out. That screws into that radiator. Take off this one here. One here. And the final one here. All right, and then we'll just pull this fan out. And we'll just try to like rest it somewhere out of the way. Something similar to that. You know, actually what I might do is actually put one screw in up here up top just to hold this fan out of the way. Okay, good enough. You can see how it's a good idea to do this every now and then to any of your water coolers. Just remove the fans or remove the cooler and clean it. Definitely gets stuff that gets stuck back there, and even if you try to blow it out, it's a bit difficult. So another downside of water cooling, in my opinion, is keeping them clean. All right, next step. Go ahead and remove the pump slash water block. I assume the pump's in there. The pump might actually be in here. So probably is, I think, because I don't see any power going to this. I saw power go into this. So 2 powers actually. So the pump's probably in here. So now we're going to go for these 4 screws here. Crisscross fashion. So we have even amounts of pressure on that processor at all times. Most likely it'll be okay, but do it as a precautionary measure. Now my hand is behind the motherboard here. There is a backplate. It may or may not fall off once this cooler loosens up. Okay, my back plate is completely loose now, so I'm going to remove it, and this is what comes off the back here. And that's what those screws were screwing down into. So now that does not have a back plate, but the Be Quiet cooler has its own back plate mounting system. So now we should be able just to simply remove this. We got a cable here that's in the way. Another fan, interesting. We'll get to the bottom of that. Okay, that came out relatively easy. So now I can just set that aside. Now that's just hanging down loosely out of the way, and that is out. We are going to take out these 4 screws here. 2, 3, 4, as those are holding the fan and the radiator in place. Okay. Now we can just gently remove those two items. Oh, there goes the radiator there and the fan. Okay. Now we can kind of see what we were looking at. All right. Pull that out, pull that out. Okay. Here's the pump. And this was actually plugged into the CPU fan header, which is okay on the motherboard. It's just fine. And then this fan that was connected to this actually had its own 4-pin fan header, which went to the motherboard, which was the one that was kind of in our way. It's the last thing we unplugged. So we are now going to eliminate these two items. Now we are ready to go ahead and remount our RGB fan, which is what we want. We want to keep all of its RGBs in working order. We don't want to eliminate one. So we'll go ahead and now we'll just make sure we're facing in the proper direction. We want this to exhaust. So this is the way we're going to mount this guy here. Oh, look at all that room we got now. Wonderful. Okay, good and tight, looking good. Fan is mounted. He's got his RGB fan back. So let's take a look at how we're going to mount this Dock Rock cooler into this case. We're going to start off here by cleaning off this processor, moistened by a bit of isopropyl alcohol. Perfect, perfect. All Be Quiet Dock Rock coolers comes complete with its own thermal material, thermal paste. This is a universal bracket that goes on the heatsink itself, and these are the screws here that secure that bracket onto the cooler. That's all standard. Then they come in two separate packets. They have an AMD pack here, and they have an Intel pack here. This is also with the backplate that you'll need for Intel motherboards. It comes with obviously the cooler itself, and it comes with a 120 millimeter Be Quiet Silent Wings 3 fan, which we'll be using. And then it comes with the fan brackets here that clip the fan onto the heatsink. And the great thing about that is they give you 4 of them, which means if you want to add a push-pull configuration, in other words, have 2 fans, one in the front and one in the back, you can do so. They make that possible with those clips. This processor with Intel supports sockets of 1150, 1151, 1155, 1156, 1366, 2011. In AMD side of things, it does support AM2+, AM3+, FM1, FM2+, and AM4. Obviously today, we won't be needing the AMD stuff. We're going to go with the Intel. So let's get this bad boy installed. Okay, this is the Intel backplate. We have to be sure this is an 1151 socket for this chip. These inner slots here are for 1151. Please refer to the instruction manual of this product for your particular socket. It may vary. This is how this backplate is going to go on the back side of this motherboard. If you have an 1151 socket, you should be all ready to install your backplate, and it should look like this before you install your backplate. This backplate simply goes and lines up over those 4 holes in the board, just like that. And then we're going to feed the screws through on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and show you these screws that we're using here. They got like a hex end on it here that helps you get it flush up against the bracket, and these are the little O-rings that help hold it into place. Notice how all the heads there of the screws are flush to the back plate. You got the O-rings holding them into place so they don't go anywhere. We can go ahead and position our back plate like that. Perfect. Okay, we're going to take these screws here. It got a little divot in them for a flathead screwdriver.
I don't think you're going to need that. And these screw on to these nuts here screw onto the threaded backplate screws that we just installed. All right, and they just go hand tight. I got them nice and firm, hand tight. Okay, and I've done that to all of these. You should be looking about like this now. And at this point in time, it's probably best if we go ahead and, okay, we're going to use the brackets that they want us to use for this. And this is where the elbow end is, and these inside holes where the bend is, where the elbow is the ones we're going to use for 1151 socket. You want to be sure these are going to be facing the correct way. We're going to be using these screws here to mount these brackets. So we'll go ahead and just start with this one. Got one on this side. Just like that. Snug them up. They don't have to be super tight. Just snug. Good old thermal paste. It just makes me feel better. Very important, obviously. Take off the plastic protective covering off of the base of the heatsink. Be sure that you get your Be Quiet logo facing the proper direction. Then we're going to place our locking bracket down in the center like that. And we're going to gently lay our heatsink onto the processor, lining up the bracket, the holes provided, secure our heatsink. It might move around on you a little bit, just work with it. Okay, got that one started. There's one right over here. Get that one started, and then we can just go ahead, snug them down. And these now you want pretty tight, but you want to apply even pressure on both sides. And just like that, cooler's installed. It's rock solid on there. Okay, now for the fan. You want to be sure, obviously, that you're facing the right direction. We want the airflow to go this way, this direction. And we want to place or position this fan to where it's best for the CPU fan cable. I'm going to put it down at the bottom top corner here like this. So you kind of test, you can test fit it. Maybe I'll go like this. I'm going to try it like this. Loop our wire here that they provide us. And just reach around, clamp it on, and snap that guy on there. Alright, there's that side. Once it's on there, it is on there. Snap, snap, clip, clip. Couple of clips, couple of snaps. Test to see if it spins fine. It does. Let's go ahead and connect our cable to CPU fan 1. And this air cooler, this Be Quiet air cooler here, is now officially installed. Now what we're going to do is stand it up. We're going to check the back to be sure those cables are all plugged in for this fan here, which it should be, and then we're going to fire it up and we're going to test for temperatures. This are the two cables that run to that fan, that RGB fan we mounted to the back of the case. We never unplugged them. They go right down here, and I'll zip tie this up like it was, but that went to the power to the fan and the fan controller RGB, which is right there. This was where the old water pump RGBs were plugged into. I'm going to go ahead and just cover that for now so it doesn't short out or anything. We're just going to do that with a piece of tape, masking tape here. And we don't have to worry about that guy shorting out on anything. You zip tie here. Go ahead and zip this back up how it was. Right, that's zip tied right there. So we're here ready to kind of test everything out and check our temperatures. Let's see, hit my power button here. All right, that's all looking good. Let's see if we get a post. And we have the BIOS. Let's see if we can Look for our temperatures here. Do temperatures, CPU temperature. Look at that. 38. 38C and holding. Running nice and quiet. You know, look at that. It doesn't look that bad. It really doesn't look that bad. Plus you're going to have a smoky glass over the top of this side case. Hardly going to be noticeable. The be quiet will stand out. I think that's kind of nice. To me, it's cleaner than what it looked before. Not a big fan of water cool. I can understand how some of the higher end ones give you a little bit more bling. The water cools look better in larger cases. Well, we're looking at 39C in the BIOS right now. We were already getting into the 50s before, if you recall. So I'll be stress testing this just to check out the final temps. But in this video, I just wanted to show everybody how to swap out a water cool system. This is an iBuyPower system. This is a proprietary case, proprietary cooler that it had in there. I swapped it out with a Be Quiet cooler. Looking really nice. Temperatures looking good, much better than they were. Okay everyone, I'm Tim with Tim's Computer Repair. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, why don't you head right down below here, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. That would be really awesome. I have much more computer repair videos coming your way. There's also a bell you can click for to get notifications for my videos. I really appreciate everybody's support. And as usual everyone, until next time, see you soon.